before I left, he looked at me and he said, he goes, I know you got your hands full with, you're busy with Sonny taking care of things for him. He goes, but if you ever want some real work and make some real money, be a part of something. He goes, I could use a guy like you. The Italian situation was pretty bad. It caused a tremendous rift with Ira, Sonny, me, Sonny. So I had to do some soul searching because I'm thinking like, I turned down the police deal, about a year prior because Sonny, kept promising me, a couple more years, I'll turn over, my half of the business to you. My kids are little, and as soon as I save them enough money up, it's yours. You can work with Ira and all. So that kind of kept me in the game. I go to see Phil the following Thursday. So I walk in to see Phil, and he's like, "Hey, what's new?" And I said, just came over to see what's up. I didn't have a package for him because I guess it was once a month deal. So I just would go over and talk and shoot the shit, and I'd get some stuff off my chest. And he's looking at me kind of with a smile like John did at the sub shop, and he says, I heard you guys had you and Sonny, had an issue with some Italians, and you both straightened it out. I said, okay, is that what that's what Sonny said? That's what Sonny said. That's what it was. And Phil goes, you mean that's not what happened? Sonny said you guys, they came in, and you both confronted them, and Sonny said fuck you, and you pulled out a shotgun. They you took care of them, and they went away, and then they all got locked up that night. And I said, yeah, somewhat like that. And he goes, it's just us talking. What happened? I said, well, these guys come storming in there. He stiffed them for, $30,000. He goes, well, I heard something about that. Sonny said they were cheating. Told Phil they were cheating. Of course he did. And I said, Phil, be honest with you, he locked himself in the office. And they came in and they were fucking Ira up. I mean, bad. They were gonna, like I said, they're gonna put $35,000 worth of, damage on him, put him in the hospital. And I couldn't let it happen. So I came through there and said I cocked that shotgun, and those guys, they figured I was going to use it, and they took off. And I said, Phil, I'm having some doubts about, being in this business. Like I said, I didn't go in the police. And the main thing was I was getting a little, my mother said I was too young to be so cynical. I was in my 20s. And, whenever there was a problem, these guys, Sonny or Ira or Joe, they could call a politician, they could call the police, or, we can get things straightened out. And, and these guys had their fingers on the pulse of what was going on. They kind of controlled things. They were like moving the chessboard. And I'm thinking like, do I want to be one of the pieces? And if I became a cop, I'm thinking like, I'm going to be one of those pieces. They're going to be moving me around, and raise or whatever. And I don't want to do that. And I'm making good money. And I said, and I'm believing Sonny that he's going to give me half his business when he gets enough money saved up. So he's like, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know, man. I said, I need to get out. I said, but the problem is, I said, my wife's pregnant. He goes, I heard, your mother-in-law called me, And they were tight, him and my, his family and my wife's family were tight when when my wife was younger growing up, and her father died when she was little. So Phil was kind of a surrogate father. And all along, the few years I've been with these guys kind of been vying for my, I guess my attention, more of my attention. Like, when I got married, Phil paid for the catering hall, and, Phil's so close to their family, he walked my wife down the aisle, gave her away, and then Sonny, Sonny countered with, well, I'm going to pay for the band, brother. And, I'm going to, instead of 3 hours, I'm going to pay for 4. And he paid for my whole honeymoon. He took us on a honeymoon, and it was, that year was like number 5 on the Lifestyles of Rich and Famous, this place called Las Brisas in Mexico. So they seemed to be, fighting for, my attention, or to get me on their side. And, I'm just trying to do my job and doing my thing. So I told Phil, I said, here's the situation. I said, like I said, my wife's pregnant, and she's already called her sister Penny and said, she wanted them to be the godparents. Phil was like, you can't step out now. I said, no. I said, I got to ride this out. I said, and see what happens. And just hope for the best. Hope, try to keep my nose clean. Hopefully nothing else, happens. So they get a call. We get a call at the office, and it's Joe Rockine calls a meeting. And Sonny had skipped a few. Sonny hadn't gone to a few because when we got in that other joint with Richie and Paul, Sonny kind of stiffed Milton, one of the other operators. It was his spot, but he agreed to get out of there because we were back in Richie and Paul. We told him to leave his pool tables in there in the jukebox because they're heavy, they're hard to move. And Sonny would pay him for the pool tables in the jukebox and give him like a per diem to get him out of there because I think he had a year or two left on his account. It was around like $15,000 or something. and Sonny never paid him. So Sonny never showed up at these last couple meetings. So Joe called this meeting. He says, you got to be there. There's a situation going on that we really need to take care of. It's something that's kind of dying away. So we go to this meeting, and Sonny goes in a safe before we go to this meeting. I'm riding with him, and he pulls out the $15,000. So I guess he's going to get straight with Milton. So we show up at the meeting. It's Golden Arm. We're there. Joe's place. We all have our little places there. We sit in the back there by the fireplace. It's like the table's always reserved for us whenever we come in there. And Milton's kind of staring at Sonny, and Sonny slides in the envelope, and I can hear Milton kind of under his breath, about fucking time. And Sonny's just kind of looking at him, blue smoke in his face. And those guys can get along. In fact, all the years I'm with him now, he started in 90. This is 93 now, 3.5 years. I started finding out that a lot of these guys, Milton's dad had the business, and Milton kind of, was brought into it. Joe, was late 60s, or he worked for a guy, bought in, he made his bones, he worked his way up. And the other operators, they were young guys, they all worked their way up, and when they met, it was five of the major guys that had about 85% of all the poker machines and amusement stuff in Baltimore metropolitan area. They were organized. It wasn't La Costa Nostra, but they were organized. They sat and met and tried to resolve issues among themselves and try to get rid of interlopers. And in fact, the rumors around for years was they considered Sonny an interloper in a way, because he didn't work in his industry. His way in was when Ira's stepdad didn't like Ira, point blank. We knew that. We found that out. And he kind of inflated the price and said, look, if you want to buy you want the business, I'm not giving it to you. You got to buy it. So he wanted a lot of money down, and told Ira, if you get all this money down, I'll sell it to you, but I'm not selling it to you unless I get a bunch of money down. So hence, like I said, that's how Sonny got involved. So, and the thing was, they didn't really have a lot of, say a lot of negative things that Sonny was facing. Some hem and haw, but what's the other thing that Sonny had on his side was Phil. He was in the, county politician judge for, 23 plus years. That's the other reason why these guys kind of tolerate Sonny, because, of his connection with Phil and all. And believe me, Sonny played it up. So this particular meeting, we're sitting there, we're talking, and then Joe brings up, there's this guy, I'll use the name John. His name was John. There's we, like I said, these guys had 85% of the machines. So the other 15%, they say let the peasants, hag over. Some guys might have their own stuff. There's other smaller operators, but, the main 5 guys there, that are in this little clique, they had most of the stuff. So, they didn't sweat the other, 15%, as long as nobody stepped on their toes. And that was the point of these guys meeting. If there was an issue, they talk and resolve the issues among themselves, or called somebody or saying, hey, somebody's upset, we'll maybe we'll do a switch or something. So the problem that day was this one guy, John, was moving in. In fact, he moved in on a few of Joe's accounts, and Joe was kind of old school. Some of his accounts, we called him Gentleman Joe, because, some of his accounts, years ago, you shake your hand, you lend somebody $25,000, and that was good enough years ago. But nowadays, you're dealing with a bunch of pieces of shit. Some of these borrowers are pieces of shit. Not all, some of them were pieces of shit. And you had to, have them sign in blood, otherwise they'll fuck you over in a second. So this one guy, John, he created a company called Cadillac Vending. So he got about 3 of Joe's accounts. He got 2 of Milton's. He tried to move on a couple of ours, but ours are all locked up. I mean, they're all locked up. Plus, most of them were scared of Sonny, and things he'd been doing. So they weren't going anywhere. So this guy picked up like 12 accounts pretty quick. But the catch was, this guy was a retired Baltimore City Police Lieutenant, and his main job was, he ran the vice unit. And interesting enough, the vice unit was in charge of going around raiding our accounts, raiding the poker machines. So this guy knew the business, knew all how much money was involved in it. So all of a sudden he retires, and with 6 months, he's in the vending game. So Joe's like, we got to do something, and Sonny's like, we'll do something, we'll fuck him up, fuck shit up. And Joe goes, hey, we're not doing, this. We're not doing any kind of Italian job. We're not doing an Italian job here. This guy's an ex-cop. So I'm kind of looking at Sonny, because I never told anybody about this Italian thing with a shotgun. He told Phil, Phil's family, whatever. Apparently he was using that to, get some street cred. Him and me ran these guys off with guns and shit. And I didn't say anything. I sit there, I bit my lip, and Joe was saying, we can't handle like that. We're not, putting a gun on a retired cop. They still have connections. They're going around a table talking what to do. And then, so Sonny goes, well, he's rolling around in mud with us. He's a pig. He's like us now. He's rolling around in the mud. So he's subject to anything. anything goes. And Joe's like, no, 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 we got to step lightly. So Sonny's like, what's our pitch is, this is our pitch. Joe kind of reiterated the same thing. The pitch of these operators was when they took over an account, loaned a guy money or got in a bar or restaurant, whatever. The deal was usually they had contracts, trying to get like 5-year contracts on these guys. So here's the deal, they had the poker machines. If they get popped, the police come in, raid the place, take all the money. The operators, it's not written down, but it's the agreement. The operators go in, replace all the money, make them guys whole. They provide a high-end lawyer to go to court with them, pay all the court fees, pay any legal fees, miss work, so all they do is plead guilty to a misdemeanor. That's a slap on the wrist, and the police know what we're doing. But they're not at this juncture. They're not coming after us. They're still going after the bars. But Joe said, "Here's the catch. This is this guy's pitch that you found after one of the spots he lost." So this guy John, this retired Baltimore Police Lieutenant, Vice Lieutenant. This is his pitch. He goes around these accounts, says, "Look, He shows them his retirement badge. They recognize him because he's raided a lot of these accounts. He says, "Here's what's going to go on. I just retired. I'm still connected to the vice crimes, people. If something would happen or somebody calls in a complaint, I'm going to know. They'll let me know. Maybe I can stop it. Maybe they'll let me know. They come in. There won't be any money here." And he goes, "The other thing is, none of these other operators out there, Sonny, Joe, Milton, the other guys, they're going to mess with you because of me. They're not going to mess with a cop." So Sonny goes, "Well, like I said, he's rolling the mud with us. He's a pig just like us. So all's fair in love and war, So Joe's like, I don't know, what are you going to do?" He goes, "Just leave it to me. We're going to take care of it. I got it taken care of. We're going to send him a message. And it's not going to be, not going to be with guns. We're going to send him a message and let him know you just can't come in here and think you're going to run us, take our accounts and think you're going to run roughshod over us."